You just can't get a break these days, huh?
No. And it comes in waves, man. It's like it comes in waves of 3, I swear.
Mhm.
All right, let's
What do
see
you
if
got?
it.
You got your rid thing. Now you got in strep, and you got. You're waiting for the third one.
Yeah, I might be waiting for something else. If the weather remains calm, I've got tree climbing in the future, so that might be where third thing happens. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Like you doing a zip line thing, or is it like just tree? Just
I got to get up and trim some branches on a couple
oh, like that.
trees, and
Yeah.
then I've got to take a couple trees down if I ever get the gall to climb to the top of them. Good morning, YouTube. Sorry we're a bit late, but we've had some excitement we were focused on. Now it's kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Forward, nice big bar off the 8 period. Didn't quite make that retracement to the angular, but close enough. SPY winging right off that liquidity zone. 406.
Federal Reserve Board accepting applications for its Community Advisory Council.
That's an interesting one. I guess Western Union got an upgrade.
Mm-hmm. That's not when I expected to get upgraded anytime soon.
No.
What do they do? Like fire half the workforce and turn them into AI and robots or something?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Margins went up. Here's our double bottom. It could still be on. We could still see that run. And if that shapes up, well, let me just borrow this. Let's see, that would be the wolf wave right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at wolf wave. 406.60. Make it or break it right here. There's your leg, setting up accumulation. We'll either get a quick 1-for-1 out of this and probably hit about 407.10, or we will fail miserably here at the wolf wave and run right back to liquidity. We had a little bit of news on wholesale inventories here at 10 o'clock. That might be what we got for a little push there.
There's no other news today, right?
Not that I know
Oh,
of.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
double check it.
we're beating the wolf up. There's our 1-for-1. Come on, give us a punch.
Oh yeah, wholesales. That's what you were just saying. That's it. ECB. DeCoste speaks now also. New York Fed inflation expectations coming also.
Yeah,
And then after the market closes, there's a couple speakers.
Economists polled by Reuters expect March inflation data due April 12th to show the consumer price index climbed by 5.2% on an annual basis, down from 6% the prior month.
That's pretty good, right? That should be bullish.
That should be bullish. All right, we're at resistance here. This is H1 off our double bottom, or R1 as I always call it, resistance.
So do they think inflation's coming down then?
They think they're getting it in and under control a little bit, but I think a lot of the BRICS noise is just shaking things up. I don't know if it's going to really do anything.
No.
All right, 1-for-1 complete. 406.80 hit. Pardon me.
Excuse me.
And if you want to look at that like a little megaphone break with a measured move, it's pretty evident. There's your break over. And that's R1 rejection, but it's not confirmed yet. Give that a couple more bars. So this angular here is going to be tricky. That's your wolf wave. I'll just drag this out a little bit longer.
All right, I had to step away for a second.
Oh, no worries. I have to hit my mute button once in a while to hack a lung up.
Yeah. I'm actually feeling the same thing today. I don't know if I'm getting sick also.
It's kind of a long way for me to be contagious to you.
Oh, yeah. I know 3 people who have COVID again now, though. So,
Ran into a gentleman from Norway yesterday.
oh, yeah?
It was kind of cool. He took the family to Busch Gardens for Easter yesterday, so I was getting on their new ride, Pantheon, and this gentleman from Norway was next to me. He's all metaled out. I'm like, yep, cool in my book, dude.
The Norwegians are nice.
Yeah, very cool, dude.
It's a funny country. They have all of the massive oil reserves, and 100% of the electricity comes from hydroelectric, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. Drag this over.
One of my best friends works the oil rigs there. They have like 3 cities which are just based on. Everybody in the city works in oil.
It's a lucrative business for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who live in Missoula, Montana, and commute to the Bakken. They're on for 3 weeks, off for a week, and working the oil fields, man. They make good money and they can do it, but it's not easy on the family when you're away
like
from
Sig
your
did
family
before,
for
huh?
3 weeks. Yeah.
He was down in the Gulf, though. I think that must have been nice. If you're going to be on a rig someplace, I think the Gulf must have been a nice place to do it.
Yeah,
Instead of Norway.
I'd rather be in the Gulf than the North Sea, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go someplace warm. Yeah. Where you can feel your fingers while you work. That's the way you want to be.
That's always a good one. Well, I don't know. The way that he talks about it, I don't know if you want to feel your fingers while you're actually.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true. I've found that I've smashed my fingers more often when I don't feel them very well in cold weather comparatively to warm weather.
Yeah.
Working as a mechanic, it's only slightly different. All right, we're breaking R1. Momentum can take over here and push us to 407. Come on,
What's the
SPY.
dollar doing?
Give us a setup. Let me poke it open real
I'm
quick.
checking.
I'll look at DXY real quick. I can do that on my phone faster than I can do it here. Damn, dollar's like
It's up, dude.
it's way up on a 1 hour chart.
Yeah. Which is kind of surprising me with this continued push now. But it's way down on the week, so I suppose it's like the last week. So
This looks like a. Well, look at the weekly chart for the dollar. A big old double bottom right there.
Yep. Oh yeah, look at that. Perfect.
That's a Wu-Tang if I ever saw one.
What do you guys call a Wu-Tang? Is it like a W that's got one side lower than the other?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. Like the Wu-Tang Clan sign, yeah?
Yep. There was a trader we had with us for a long time. Was it Mike or I can't remember if it was Mike or it might have been Mike. He would say it all the time, like Wu-Tang. you know, it's pretty cool when you can call those out. You can pick up some really nice trades out of them. But when they fail, they're violent. They'll usually, when they do fail, they'll rip a face off, like instant bear flag. And for every one you catch, you worry about the next one.
Mm.
So with the Wu-Tang, is it always the right-hand side of the W is always slightly lower?
Typically, in the proper Wu-Tang sentiment. So here's the
Okay.
right side. Just slightly lower with the bars. The wicks don't seem to matter there, but if you look at where my cursor lines up with the bars, with the actual bodies, it's just slightly lower than the rest of the candles over here. They usually occur right on top of a liquidity zone, and here we've predicted exactly where the liquidity zone is. And we broke R1, but we're not showing a lot of gusto just yet. We're kind of hanging on that wolf wave. Want to see if we can break 407 or not. That's going to be kind of the critical point here. And if it does, momentum will take it straight to 407.30 pretty easily. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to make my wolf purple.
What are you making, purple?
My wolf waves, I used to call it the
Oh, yeah.
purple wolf all the time. So
Yeah. No.
purple wolf. Purple
Why are
wolf
you
was,
calling that the wolf wave?
wolf wave is a pretty simple thing, and there's some literature on it. You essentially find the trend, you find the first low, and then you draw a line from the first low to the second high. So we have first low, first high, second low, second high, and just extend it. And usually you'll have a quick short-term target for if you get a pullback after a rejection and a bounce off support. It gives you a quick trade right back to this angular. I mean, that was pretty obvious. And then continuation is when it tests this for support and it holds it and continues a trend. Well, in this case, it came through it, hit the 8 period, and continued to bounce back on. I've seen wolf waves start out as a setup way back here and play out to the end of the day. That is one hell of a steep trend, but if we do get a trend day out of this, let's look all the way to the end here. I have to smash it. That would take us out of the liquidity zone up above 411. That's pretty nuts. The thing to know about the wolf wave is it's not always going to be a definite trend follow. Oftentimes when you get a parabolic out of it, liquidity zone is going to matter. Middle of liquidity zone is going to be a key pivot. And then you can also expect your typical 50% retracement on them. So and then there's I think there's an article for each argument on a wolf wave where it's bullish or bearish, and they're the same thing just in reverse. So if it's a bearish wolf wave, you'll take the top of a trend, and you'll find the highest high. Look for the second low after the highest high, and then draw your line. Run it down. Trying to see if I have an example of a bearish wolf wave. That'd be too steep, but it did line up here. So for our pullback from Thursday, this would be your bearish wolf wave. So you got your highest high here. Dang. Low 1, high 1, low 2, extend it. Gave you the target for here. And this is a subtle high 1, but it's a high 1. There's your low 1. High 2, low 2.
Okay, thank you.
This is a simple way to draw a fan line too. You can run these down and fan line them for pretty much all they're worth. Interesting thing is me see if I can pull this off. Give me 1 second to get a different chart up. I want to keep an eye on this as well. So let's look at SPX real quick. And I wonder. Takes it down. Ha! Significant fan line. So, ignoring all of the pre-market and after hours stuff from Thursday, that wolf wave extended all the way down, kind of gave us about where the gap would be, then also gave us an angular resistance here where we hit, and eventually continued on through it. So I've seen significance in wolf waves where they start out on a 1 and 5 minute chart and extend for days if it's just right. So I always take note of them and kind of know where they are. And here's the other argument. If this becomes a setup for a range day and we can't break into the bullish side of this liquidity zone, this can certainly build us a nice looking bear flag and give us a 1-for-1. And this interesting thing is that wolf wave would give us our 1-for-1 target right down to the next pivot. So if this is a 1, there's your gap. The 1-for-1 would take us down here to 40.60. So wolf waves are pretty neat. They have a pretty high accuracy rate. I would call them around 80%. There is a slight failure rate, about 20%, where
You don't do. Oh, sorry, man.
sometimes you'll set them up and you won't quite get a move all the way to them, and it'll reject before it gets there and break down. So like for swing trading, for instance, sometimes you'll see them set up. I've had this happen a couple times on swing trades where I'll build one. I think the last one I did was on Netflix. It didn't quite meet it. It rejected. It pulled back. And I was expecting it, if it broke that wolf wave when I was setting it up on Netflix, to fill the gap. Let me get Netflix up here so we can know what I'm talking about. Let's see, weekly. That was back in here. So I had drawn my wolf wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and I was expecting it to fill the gap out and hit it sooner. So I was thinking of probably around July or August to fill that gap, and it didn't. It rejected, pulled back, and it was like, oh man, I'm losing hope here. And then all of a sudden, blam, it went and filled the gap. But this was a big ass gap candle. And let me see here. When I had drawn that wolf wave, I drew it on a daily. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one would have been here. And we can see that failed. So when we drew it again, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one met. And then later on, the odd thing was it didn't make a bearish wolf wave. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of judging what I would be seeing on the 2-hour chart, but I'm using the daily chart. So that one kind of met later, and it stayed in range up with it. So you can miss one and then have a setup later with the same pattern. And then eventually it did fill that gap. So when you see them set up on a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart and they don't quite meet, don't count them out. You can also check them for a second time. So like if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, pick off a fan line that way. and it met here, and then rejected. Here's our 50% retracement that we expected. Coming right up. And you could literally drag a couple wolf waves around and forget, a lot of the other fan lines, and then just pick off your 50% retracements as you see them set up all day long if you got range. But the significance of knowing where you can find a wolf wave is going to be key. When you start to build those fan lines, you'll know that they're typically going to follow a wolf wave more frequently than a fan line. Although fan lines will give you all of the, I guess you could say it gives you the Elliott targets in that respect, because it'll give you all the wave counts out further from the epicenter or from the root. See if I can draw one on Ford real quick. Borrow this line. This is a daily chart, so there's your H1, L1, H2, L2. Yikes. That's a target for a 1-for-1 if this breaks down. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that, but it's possible.
Something I hear you say over and over that I want to emphasize is there's a lot of if-thens, and
Right.
that's all you need to know about trading. There's no, the market should do this or when it does that. It's always an if-then. So you're
Right.
constantly mapping out. It's literally like a map on a ship, like you're trying to create. If the weather is this, then there. If I don't run into an iceberg, then. So you have to plan for multiple possibilities, and then what you're going to do when that happens. That's
Right.
the essence of discretionary trading.
And then I find that I can add all of my if this then that statements, and then I can narrow down to the one with the highest probability.
Absolutely. And then that's what we call an ace king. Like if you're playing poker, it's your best hand, and that's when
Right.
you want to put more chips on the table if you have them. But they don't happen very often. So
Right.
if you're finding yourself thinking everything is an ace king, you might want to rethink your logic.
Well, I find that with the 5-second chart, I can pick up a lot of ace kings because I can spot those 1-for-1s pretty readily. And 1-for-1s.
Well, I would say those aren't ace kings. Those are
Right.
just higher price. Those are very good hands, and you're solid on a short-term bet, right?
Right.
But when I say ace king, I mean like you want to bet the farm on it.
Right.
It's that strong of a and they don't set up. I'd say over the last 5 years of trading, if you can be patient, at least twice a week, you're going to have a trade. Now, you may not always catch it, but you're going to have a trade that could make your week, make your month, and the better
Right.
you get at just those little base hits all the time, the more able the more likely you're able to have the confidence to trade those bigger trades with more size. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Ooh.
Because you'll have practiced all of your major setups.
Mhm.
You'll have a good eye for catching them, and then when you can spot them and know where the expected move is, you've already gone ahead of it. You already
Yeah,
know.
and you're not excited about it. You just go, okay, there it is. I need to double down on this one because it's and you just trade it better with more confidence, which actually helps you. It's the hesitation that kills you 90% of the time.
Right.
And in the beginning, you don't hesitate enough because you're not thinking it through and you're shooting at everything. It's like ready, shoot, fire, ready, fire, aim, or something. And it's instead of truly hunting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
Right.
and then pull the trigger.
Oh, it's like that scene from Spaceballs.
Yes.
I knew it! I'm surrounded by assholes! Keep firing, assholes! Eventually they hit something. Oh, man. That movie has a lot of logic in it. Believe
That's a
it or
great movie.
not.
Do you have specific stocks that you kind of, 3 or 4 or 5 stocks that you kind of just follow all the time to kind of get a feel for how they move in the marketplace?
I do actually, and I have like probably 3 that I watch regularly, and I have a couple that are often I consider variables. So I keep 2 slots open for stuff that I'm also trading. For instance, when I was trading natural gas futures, or not natural gas futures, but the natural gas ETF UNG, it was one of 2 slots that I was watching at the time, and the other slot was I want to say reserved for kind of a variable on it. So I was looking at, for a moment, I was looking at oil, kind of rotated those 2 out, and then eventually they ran out of trade setups. So I leave 2 slots open and have 3 that I typically will watch. And for the longest time, it was Tesla, Amazon, and Intel Corp. And now I'm kind of watching a couple of the smaller ones, American Airlines and Ford, because I'm looking for possible swing trade setups out of them. I'm not looking to day trade those. I'm looking for swing trades. And I think I'm going to end up going back to Tesla eventually when it sets up a bottom. And then I'm probably going to add Amazon after we figure out what's going on with Q1 earnings. But I do have kind of a rotation that I keep in play, and I'll watch typically no more than 5 of them if I can help it, and then really focus on my top 3.
Do you just kind of set alerts on things so that when they get or approach, or do you go through your like morning routine or a weekly routine? Do you have?
Here's a 1-for-1.
I usually try to hit like on the weekends. I kind of think through what happened the week before and what is going on the next week, and then I just kind of set my alerts and don't worry about it too much.
The
Do
weird
you
thing
do
is,
any pre-market analysis at all?
No, not
Okay.
anymore.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Thank
I
you.
look at what happened overnight, and it really, that's about all you need. I mean,
right,
you want to know what kind of, if there's going to be a big news event or a big, um, uh, drop of information or, talking heads, you want to be aware of things like that that are going to happen that day. But primarily it's what happened in the last 24 hours.
Understood. I noticed that during some of these sessions, you guys are talking about the news. Are you finding that news feed from the Bullish Bull site, or is that something that you guys have special for yourselves?
we have a pretty good news bot built into the Discord server, but I don't tend to use it because I found one that's a little bit faster. As far as I can see stuff headline in this faster than I can see it on Bullish Bears, and it's actually the one I use from Money.net. I'll drag it over here in a moment. Pop it out first. There we go. But I'll use this one, and it gives me pretty much up to the minute stuff as far as late breaking. And like here I can see all the upgrades and downgrades that pop up, and anything significant is always highlighted.
Is that a pay-for-service?
Yeah, this one is. I do a little thing for them once a week on Fridays, so they let me have access to this. Whoops, where'd it go? Just dropped it off. There it is. But ordinarily it's a service. I think they charge their membership. I think it's like $100 a month or something like that. So they're a little pricey. But I'm a contributor for them once a week, and that was very generous of them to let me have access to this. But
Yeah, it's nice to have those kind of perks.
it is. It really is. And Sometimes I'll catch stuff that's really quick, like I did catch that FRC stuff that I was trading by watching this. I was also able to catch a couple other really quick, significant trades, just kind of keeping an eye on this ticker. But I find that probably 90% of the stuff on there doesn't matter to what I'm doing. And every once in a while, I'll see something that really stands out to be like, I'll go look at it, pop the chart open, and make a very quick trade decision on it. So it's always been kind of handy to have it. I don't act on everything I see on it, but when I do see something that's significant to me, I can pop open a chart and verify a trade real quick. We got our bearish 1-for-1 with a wick, and we bounced off again. We can kind of break this zone that we're watching here between the two liquidity zones into thirds. And it splits the difference for this move here. Now we're in the middle. And in Sig's famous words, you don't want to diddle in the middle. You want to wait for a break. So at some point, this will set us up a break. And I think, being that it's 10:30, it's kind of at that point between now and 11, things start to slow down. We might see something set up for the later afternoon in this mess by about 12:30 to 1 o'clock. We might set up a bigger move. But if we can't break this range, or we can't break to one side of liquidity or the other, it's likely to just be a range day. But yeah, I do enjoy the money.net thing here. That thing is very, very useful. Plus, I have a pretty active chat on there too, and I kind of get to talk with a lot of institutional traders and investors there. And I rarely see a retail trader in that chat. I mean, usually it's like I'll see one for a day or two, and then they kind of just sit and watch, I guess. But most of the stuff I see chatting back and forth in there are people who are like heavy hitters. I mean, they're in the market with lots of money. So when they start squawking about something, I definitely tune into it and kind of see what they're saying. And if I see a decent trade setup coming out of it, I'm a technical analyst, pure and true. I don't tend to pay much attention to the news for that matter. But when I see something that's getting a lot of attention, I'll pop a chart open. If I see an opportunity, the moment I see it, I'll get it into our chat and be like, hey guys, this is setting up really good. People are talking about it. We might have a good trade here.
Thank you for that information. Appreciate it.
No problem. See if I can pop it in without breaking it. I love their website, but sometimes I'll go to drag something back around and it ends up having to be rebooted. It worked this time, though. Let me see here. Forward right off that pivot, man. I love that. Kind of setting up a doji party in the wrong place, but if we do get a 1-for-1 out of this on forward, it could put us up to 1240, 1250. But if this rejects, look for 1227 and possibly a push back down to the open, about 1213. I did have a question on the YouTube channel here. I've joined a group before knowing about you guys, trying to learn, mostly options trading. However, all they do is day trade options, which doesn't interest me, and it's overwhelming. Any advice? Well, we kind of cross end to end on that. We do some day trading on options. I do a lot of swing trading on options as well. I primarily focus on, if I'm going to teach new people how to trade options, I want to focus on strategies that mitigate risk as much as humanly possible, and that's debit spreads, debit spread to butterfly conversions, stuff like that. It's a little bit more of a complex strategy than just day trading options, but it's really easy to make the transition from day trading and swing trading options into running these spreads and then learning how to convert them later. So it is attainable and definitely recommended that if you're going to start with options, your first goal should always be to mitigate risk as much as possible, especially if you got a small account. Hey, we're getting retracement. But at any rate, that's kind of what we focus on here is more more into a little bit slower options trading, even though we do still day trade options. And also, we day trade the living crap out of futures. So it's kind of a big mix of all of it. We do a lot of significant teaching in all the fields that we can, but the focus is always going to be risk mitigation. Damn, Ford set up for that 1-for-1. Hello. As far as stuff that I also watch, another thing I do quite a bit of is I have a list of about 30 large caps that will sometimes just, if I can't find anything that's really making sense for a swing trade, I'll start flipping through charts and I'll run down that entire watch list. And kind of, if I see a setup that stands out to me and it's worth a little bit more investigation as to whether it's a significant setup for a swing trade or not, and I'll pull it out and look at it. I came across ConocoPhillips. Last week I concluded that the setup was just perfect, but the call out on it was awesome and the follow through was even better. And it was just simple. I took the daily chart, I found a double bottom, I plot the resistance line, the 50% retracement, and the upper range target, and it freaking followed through gloriously. And that just came from finding the setup. I was flipping through my list of large caps, saw the double bottom on the daily, and I was like, cool, swing trade found. And man, I posted an alert about that, stuck it on our Twitter page and everything, and it was just glorious to follow through on that thing. Line for line, man. That was a simple swing trade, and when I see those, I get on it. I pull those out as quick as I can. Used to be I would call those out as setups for debit spreads, and we put it in the alert channel for debit spreads. The hard part with that is it was hard for me to go back into a separate channel and then call out the follow through or make an announcement that, hey, this trade isn't working out, I pulled it off or whatever, took a loss on it, whatever it may have been. And it was also hard to tell people when I pulled off my exit for if it hit my targets. Like I typically have a 50% or 100% return on swing trade target. And if it's something I don't see moving very much, I'll have typically a 50% return target. If I see something that's moving significantly, I have a 100% return target. So when I see those setups, I do tend to also put an alert in our chat saying what kind of strategy I'm using for it. If it's a debit spread, I'll post it there. I might be looking.
Roll one. May I ask you a question?
I think she's still around.
Absolutely, yep.
Do you do a lot of technical analysis yourself?
Zero technical analysis.
Strictly Dom?
I am, well, it depends on how you're going to define technical analysis. So I do subscribe to the idea of Elliott waves, and I do use some Fibonacci's, but usually when there's something very obvious and it's just for me to find a midpoint, find an inflection point or potential inflection point, and then I trade off the DOM. So I'm looking at the actual live numbers of contracts being traded in real time and the footprint. So that's it. I like listening to, and it's interesting for me because I'm seeing very, very granular information. Jeremy's pretty damn good at seeing it without the granular information.
Yep,
But
yes, he is.
you know, for those of us who aren't as gifted as him, because until you really grasp what he's seeing in his mind's eye behind the lines and the patterns, I need the confirmation because I want to see definitely that there's exhaustion, or definitely that there's absorption, or how much, and like we still have zero prints above, so we're not probably going down until we go back up. But how we get there and when we get there, for me, I want the highest probability possible, and so that I don't do any technical analysis, because for me, I'm watching the actual price action as it's forming, the numbers of contracts trading. But I only trade the futures. When I do options, yeah, I'm looking at technical analysis, but in a big picture way.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. It's hard to figure my mind out sometimes. It's like I can see it and draw it faster than I can say it most of the time. But the thing is to really be able to follow in that efficiency and speed is to learn the process first, and that's what I try to teach more, is the process of how do I get there. And that's where we figure out where all the roots are, figure out where the wolf wave is, 50% retracements. I mean, pretty much every little thing we see happening in the market, first we establish what we're likely to see in a day, and then we just trade it through the range of what the day is going to bring us. And it can be any number of styles. It can be fan lines, it can be wolf waves, it can be just simple, one for ones like we got here. A nice bullish 1-for-1 had the extension, gave us a 2-for-1 out of this, but it was really just a 1-for-1 from this range to this range. Now we're getting the pullback, and knowing where the pullback points are, pretty simple. Just draw down, pivot. But the idea is the process is more important than than finding out exactly how I'm doing it. Find your process for yourself, and not try to chase after what I'm doing, but find your
It's
best
hard
way
to
to do
find
it.
your way, and the more people you listen to, sometimes it's more confusing. What I did was I literally just, I had a mentor that I finally landed on. I liked the way he traded, and I just said, okay, if you were me, where I'm at now and where I want to go, what would you do? And he said, I would do 1-tick drills 10,000 times. And so I did that.
Right.
And I actually have some video and stuff of that, until I got so good at getting entries with a 0 MAE, which is, it doesn't go against you even 1 tick. But it took me 6 months of probably 8 hours a day doing that. But I get really good entries, and I rarely lose any money. So it was worth it. But that was me, and that was my path. And from there, I added things to it. So I find one thing that speaks to you, and then just take everything else away and just focus on getting really good at that one thing. Because you only need one thing in this market. Mm-hmm. One thing that you do really well, and you can become a millionaire. You can absolutely become a millionaire if you get good at one thing. Once you get good at one thing, then it's possible to add things to it. But until you get good at one thing, you're going to be chasing your tail.
Yes, I understand.
And
thank you for that.
That's that, practice one kick 1,000 times analogy we keep talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Guys,
all right. I'm going to step out of this and go practice, okay? Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Thanks for joining us. A wonderful day. We might actually start breaking into liquidity here. That's some strength right there on a 1-minute chart. We'll at least hit the wolf. If we can break above this level, here we go.
I really think we got to get back up to the if not the overnight highs, for real, up to probably 41.25 on the ES.
Right.
Before we're gonna, and we have unfinished business at the highs, so this market doesn't want to go down yet. It needs a good reason to.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you look at the 2-hour chart, that's pretty bearish looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then flip to the 30-minute chart and zoom out. That's the rounding bottom of the cup.
And yeah. So different time trade, different time frame traders are very much in opposition right now.
Yep, I agree. It's like no decision's been made for direction here. It's just chop. But when you look at it, it's another if this then that. If this is going to be a cup and handle, how would I trade it? That's the question you got to ask. And it's like, okay, where is the first resistance point? Well, bottom of liquidity, we're there. Second is going to be about half that liquidity. There's your 409 pivot, or 408.90. I put it at 408.91 because for some reason 408.91 has been ideal. And it's also about the center of our liquidity zone. And then if it breaks that, well, can we finish the move to the first rim line? About 411? Yeah, I think so. And then second rim line is up here, 412.50. So if this then that, if it breaks this zone and breaks into that liquidity significantly, we'll at least hit here, might even hit here. So longer term follow through says it's likely, but only if we can get through this key resistance point right here. That's that liquidity zone base. And damn if it didn't just print a tweezer. But we did almost hit that wolf wave, and we did get just into liquidity for the first time today since open. So keep watching this. This can be a trend day in the latter part of the day. It's more likely to be a range day, but it can be a trend day. Meantime, I'm going to flip through some charts. I'm probably going to sign off here in a few minutes, but I'm going to flip through some charts real quick and see if I see anything setting up. Adobe looks bearish. 365's first target. Second target would be actually 352.50. Just kind of eyeballing the 200 there. And then the extension would be down to 330 if it's going to continue in that channel, so to speak. Looking at a lot of things channeling, and in the market we've got a lot of, and this is just me flipping through my my large cap watch list that I kind of flipped through for charts. Here's another channel on MasterCard looking for a move to 353, possibly an extension down to the low 343. That's significant. That can be a swing trade. I'll keep an eye on that for confirmation. I want to make sure it gets through the daily 20 period before we can confirm a full-on bearish move, and that's about just a few candles like to that middle 50% retracement level. So I'm going to put a pivot there just as a matter of fact. About 354. That can follow that channel. It can also set up an inverse head and shoulders. So we got L1, L2, L3 would be here. So if this then that, it may just boot back up and go bullish, or if it breaks a level, it can certainly retrace to the low. Kind of possible there. Netflix is kind of hovering at that previous gap level. That may pull back some. Kind of watching another one that interests me. Domino's Pizza. Daily gap. We've met the 50% retracement of that gap.
You're making me hungry.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's got range up to 345. That's a pretty good move. That's a good swing trade setup. So if this then that, if it breaks the 50% line of this gap, it can continue to cruise to the next side of it. And that's already been a 1-for-1 here to here is your measured move. Came off of big double bottom. That's been met. So if it rejects here, it can pull back to this target too. So kind of keep an eye on this. Give it a couple days to finish the setup. I might even post that one later. But I'll get through and flip through and kind of I'll find us a decent swing trade, and I'll be sure to get it out to our social media as well as our chat here. If I see anything that looks like a home run or really perfect setup like ConocoPhillips was there, I'll post it. But I'm going to try and narrow it down to the ones with the highest probability. And that's my job, is to make sure if I'm going to call something out, I want some really good probability in it. Anybody can print a trade alert and say, okay, well, if this breaks, then that, can be significant, but I'm going to more or less call out, watch this for a follow through or watch this set up for confirmation. That's my key focus is higher probability.
It's always appreciated. Don't just throw out wild ideas.
Right. And it's hard to do because I'm picky. I'll be like, occasionally I have people, hey, why haven't you put out a trade alert in a while? I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. There's nothing I am interested in. I will go day trade until I find something that sets up like that. Whereas if you want to throw a bunch of fish in a barrel for people to choose from, so to speak, you'll go and look at what all the alerts are telling you. So it's like, out of those alerts, if there's a list of like 10 stocks that are on alert for like this has a good setup or that has a good setup, maybe 2 of them might be significant for follow through. That's kind of a big ratio, and not in a good way. So I like to focus on the good stuff. So that's just kind of my MO. If I'm not posting any alerts, it's not because I'm not looking. It's because I'm not finding a good probability setup.
You're greedy and not sharing with the rest of us.
That's it. No, I'm always excited when I go find something that's like looking like a home run. I'll be like, dude, watch this. It's not a moment of pride. It's a moment of excitement. I want to get out and tell the world. Anyway, I want to wrap it up for the day. I'm getting to that point where I've got to go eat my lunch before the market eats it for me. I haven't had breakfast yet, so it's about that time.
Hey, good question.
Sure.
Jeremy, can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or anyone probably from the US. I'm not asking for any tax advice. I just want to know. I'm doing my tax for the last year, and one of my CPA said the IRS might question me having a full-time job and being a full-time trader. Have you guys? Is there any issue with being full-time trader and having a full-time job?
Not at all. I've done it for years. So essentially, I mean, you can file it all in the same report. It's just a 1099-B from your trading accounts.
Correct.
There's 2 ways you can do it if you have, and it depends on how many dependents you have and a few other things. But I'm no tax advisor. I'm just kind of telling you what I do. I can oftentimes get the standard deduction because I've earned income. So you get the earned income and the standard deduction as well as dependents and stuff like that. I find myself not having to try and do any sort of loss harvesting. So like from my trading side, I realistically can just report from the summary and not have to go into every stinking trade and try to itemize it with loss harvesting in mind. I can just go to the first page summary and be like, okay, well, what's discredited for being, not allowed wash sale type of thing. Find the difference, print the number, and it's always been fine for me. I've never had any issues with that.
And I was reading upon the full-time trade. Basically, I don't know, 4 hours a day and 4 to 5, one, I don't know, 2 to 3 trades, 3 out of 5 days, and some stuff like that. So I guess if at any point, if I do get picked for audit or something, I just got to provide those details, I guess, right?
You've got to be able to provide them.
Hopefully Ninja Trader has them.
Are you also filing as trader status?
So she's doing it as a self-employed, that piece,
Okay.
the trader piece.
So for me, it made sense because I was kind of balanced. Like my W-2 income was almost the same as my 1099-B income. For me, it just ended up being safer to call it as the same rate that I'm taxed on my earned income. So I just reported it as 1099-B income, so it didn't really matter. If you file trader status, I know that changes things a little bit. I haven't had to do that yet, but I might have to do it this year.
What does that mean? I remember reading something like that, but what does that think? Do you know much in detail what that means?
It's just as if you're trading as a business,
Oh yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
right? So it's. I mean, there's many ways to do it. You could do like the.
I've seen people who does LLC and then trade out of that.
Right. That's
No,
the
I'm
other way
not.
to
I
do it.
haven't done that. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
it's
Thanks for Jimmy.
it always depends on numbers, but I mean, certainly have an in-depth talk with your CPA,
Yeah.
and then if you're still not sure, I know it costs a few bucks to go and talk to another CPA, but you can certainly get a second opinion from somebody who might specialize in that field too. So,
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, could do that too. Yeah. All right, great. Thanks a lot, Jimmy.
no problem.
Now, when are you coming to trade ES, man? We're waiting.
I know I'm getting there. I think
Okay.
I'm gonna start doing I'm getting the TradeStation account going here pretty quick here. So
Sweet.
I think that's the way I'm gonna go. I'll start small and then I'll work the big one later.
All right, man.
Alrighty then. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be here in the morning. Casper's going to be streaming tomorrow, but I'll be tagging along and we'll be, commending each other, I guess. Supporting each other.
Hey, we got anybody from Houston here in this group?
I don't,
I used to be in Philly, but now I moved to Houston about a year ago. So
I can't
trying
remember.
to see if I can find somebody to just to chit chat and talk about ideas and stuff.
I think, I don't know if he still lives there, but I think Ironclad lives over that way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Might hit him up. I
Yeah,
forget where he's
the
from.
work from home thing moved people around so much.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't moved a whole lot, but I mean, I stayed in Montana for about 12 years. But originally, I was from Southern California, and then of all places to move from Montana, I moved to Virginia. So I'm often asked why. I'm like, dude, it was more of a question of why not.
Yeah, Virginia, I like that landscape. It's so much better. There's like a
Yeah.
lot of greenery compared to especially Houston, man.
Oh, I love it here. I absolutely love it here. It is incredible. Anyway, I'm gonna try and kick this cold too. It's like I either have strep or a cold or both. I'm not sure yet, but it's
I mean, feel better.
kind of draining my brain cells for the day anyway.
Okay.
But anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.
Yeah, bye.
See ya.
See ya. And thanks again for joining us on YouTube. We will see you guys tomorrow. I will be on here with Casper streaming, and we'll get some price action out. And above all, we still do a lot of teaching, a lot of trading, and a lot of fun. And if nothing else, we'll tell stories and pass the time. We'll see you guys.